What is up, Algebra 2 students? This is lesson 71 and also 93. Objective is, how do you use the quadratic formula? Well, the quadratic formula is just a formula that we can use to solve any quadratic equation. So here's the quadratic equation in generic form with no numbers in it, just has a, b, and c where numbers would be. And we're going to take that and solve it for x. The only stipulation here is that a cannot equal to 0 because then it wouldn't be a quadratic equation. So to do that, we're going to use completing the square. In order to complete the square, we want our leading coefficient to be 1. So I'm going to have to divide by a to make sure that that is 1. So it gives us x squared plus b over ax plus c over a is equal to 0. To complete the square, I'm going to say x squared plus b over ax, purposely leaving space, is equal to negative c over a. Now to complete the square, remember we take this number right here by b, we divide it by 2, and then we square it. Did that work a little bit quickly there for you? But the idea is that I'm going to add that to both sides. B squared over 4a squared. The left-hand side we know factors very nicely to be x plus this number, b over 2a squared, is equal to, and then I'm going to multiply this by 4a over 4a, so that my denominators will be the same. Combining them together, I'm going to have b squared minus 4ac over 4a squared. Getting closer, now we take the square root of both sides, and that will get me x plus b over 2a is equal to the plus or minus square root of b squared minus 4ac over the square root of 4ac, sorry, not ac, a squared. The denominator comes out to just be 2a, because the square root of 4 is 2, the square root of a squared is a. The top just stays the same. And we are almost there. I just need to subtract this number here from both sides, and that gives me x is equal to, I'm going to say negative b over 2a plus or minus this. Notice that both my denominators are the same, so I can simplify that down even more. Say negative b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac, all divided by 2a. And this, my friends, is what we call the quadratic equation, or the quadratic formula. So notice we went from this piece right here all the way down here. If you use what's here in this red box, you can skip all that work in between and just plug in numbers from your general equation. So let's do that now. The first thing I want to do here is I just want to identify what a, b, and c are. So the a is the number by the b squared, which in this case is just 1. The b number is by the b, or just the x number, which is going to be negative 4. And then c is going to be that constant, which is negative 21. So I'm just going to write out my formula here. X is equal to negative b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. And we're just going to plug in those numbers here from the right. So x is going to equal to negative 4 plus or minus the square root of negative 4 squared minus 4 times a times c, all divided by 2 times a. We're just going to simplify this down some. So as you get 16 plus 84 underneath that radical there. Simplifying down further, you get like this, and that's the same thing as 4 plus or minus 10 over 2. Now this, I'm going to break up into two different ones. Since I have a plus and a minus, it could go two different ways. This is going to either be 4 plus 10 over 2, or 4 minus 10 over 2. 4 plus 10 is 14. 14 over 2 is 7. 4 minus 10 is negative 6 over 2 would give me negative 3. So those would be my two options there for x. X is equal to negative 3 or 7. Now here number 11 is just a little bit tricky because it's not already in that standard form. So I'm just going to rewrite it there. So it's equal to 0. So it's going to be 5p squared minus 9p plus 6 is equal to 0. So that means my a is equal to 5. My b is equal to negative 9. And my c is equal to 6. I'm going to go and just plug those into my quadratic formula and simplify that down. Plugged in, now let's simplify. Simplified some, let's simplify some more. Okay, now notice we have a negative underneath that radical. So we can say this is 9 plus or minus I square root of 39 over 10. And I don't have anything that I can simplify like from the 9 and this and the 10. And this doesn't simplify down anymore, it's just square root of 39. So I can leave, in this case, my answer like this. So this is going to be my answer right here. And notice there is two imaginary answers there in that one statement that I've written. All right. Now, wouldn't it be nice if we could kind of get an idea of if these answers, or how many answers we're going to have? Because notice the first one we did there, we got two real answers, and then later, the second one, we got two imaginary answers. And there is, and it's all determined what we call the discriminant. The discriminant is that part underneath the radical. Because notice if it's negative, this second statement here, then I'll end up with two imaginary solutions, meaning that it's going to have those i's in it. If that discriminant is positive, like the first one we did, then I'll end up with two real solutions. They might be fractions. They might have weird radicals in them, but there's going to be two real solutions. There will not be any i's. And then the really fun one is whenever that number comes out to be 0, then we just end up with one real solution. One real solution. So if we're here on the first part of your homework, which is a worksheet, you're going to need to find the discriminant, and then name the, and then find the number and types of solutions. So I'm going to try to do that fairly quickly here. I'm not recording, so the video is not so long. So you can kind of just pause it and look through that. So notice to simplify down to negative 144. Since negative 144, that's the discriminant, this part here. Since it's a negative number, I'm going to have two imaginary solutions right here. Alright, I'm going to do the next two kind of quickly, so just, again, pause and if you need. It's important to write this in standard form first. Alright, so I did half of your first 6 of them there. And I would suggest doing this for all of the problems there on your homework, because you can use this number that you find, the discriminant, under the radical whenever you're plugging it into this quadratic equation anyways. So you're kind of saving yourself some work there anyways, and you'll already have an idea of how many answers and if you'll have an I in them or not, straight from the get-go or straight from the beginning. So again, your homework is a worksheet, so pick that up. I worked out 5 of them for you, so copy those in there. You shouldn't get a 0. Good luck. Ask questions if you have them.